My name is Andrew Clemenson, and today I'm with Dan Brown and Michael Grant, who are going to talk to us about the launch of the Positive Transformation Initiative, PTI. Good morning, Dan.
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, the Positive Transformation Initiative is really all about collaboration in the interests of widening impact of existing initiatives all around the UK. The idea is that we'll work together cross-organisationally to secure the right contacts, the right program resources and funding that can be channeled into the right initiatives that are going to create opportunities for people all around the country.
Thank you, Dan. That's good to hear. Michael, in turning to you, I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what caused you to first get involved with PTI.
I really sort of got into technology about 25 years ago, initially with the flight simulation business. And then I worked subsequently for 6 international global IT suppliers in sort of marketing, international marketing roles. And then when I got to 50, I was unemployable through ageism, and I started my own business and went into the field of IT recruitment and had a lovely little company that placed people largely from America into European companies. Moving on from there, I kind of went into a 10-year period of what I call my pro bono or nearly pro bono work. And I took a job called a clerk, strangely enough, for a city livery company, the IT livery company. And it was kind of a CEO's job with 800 amazing people from the industry, mainly chiefs, and trying to get them to behave like Indians. And that was, all 800 of them were quite extraordinary because they were all on payback into society. All of us, I guess fundamentally, having been in the right place probably more times than we deserved.
What a fascinating story, Michael. I wonder if perhaps you could now tell us how you first met Dan and got involved with PTI.
That's interesting. Dan and I worked for probably a couple of years together, doing this networking. I mean, PTI is like the network of all networks. And he and I used to meet people from both the legal business and from the tech business. And we'd be hosting and meeting and doing briefings and so on. And of course, gradually I got to hear about PTI, which was, to me, perfect because throughout my life, because I had a pretty tough upbringing. My dad was in the RAF and got killed just a few months after the end of the Second World War. And my mother and I grew up. She was a very poor widow. And we spent most of my early years under the roof of my grandmother's house in Kent, Council House in Kent. And then I had a great stroke of luck. The Royal Air Force paid for me to go to an English cathedral school, which was pretty awful for the first 5 years, but changed my life for the next 5 years. And that's one of the reasons I've got this great passion for education and giving a good education with lots of extracurricular activity for all young people, because it changed my prospects forever. And then on top of joining the IT industry, which really gave me a lifestyle for my family beyond my wildest dreams. And I have to be honest with you, I had 25 years where if I'd been a rich man, which I'm not, I would happily have paid for every single day of that experience.
Thank you again, Michael. Really interesting to hear your stories. Dan, perhaps we could now talk a little bit more about Tech and Law for Good, which I know is one of the major initiatives that you have in PTI for 2020.
The Tech and Law for Good is a really, hopefully, very different, quite unique programme. And the idea of it is to address issues around the sustainability of funding for the projects that PTI will support, and also the way in which we will access and procure pro bono resources and give people the access to the right connections across the industry. The idea being, very simply, is that if you create a national cross-organisational collaboration that enables no matter how big you are, enables your organisation and look at your interests and identify other organisations with a similar interest. If you can bring 6, 8, 10 of those organisations together, all start looking at those focal points in as a collaboration, then ultimately there'll be significant benefits to doing that in terms of wider impact of your programs, reduced expenditure, and better employee engagement by giving them more opportunities to engage, not just in your organisation, but outside in other people's CSR programs and projects. There's a lot about widening impact. There is a very interesting opportunity working with tech organisations. You know, Tech and Law for Good as a network of thousands, potentially, of very interesting organisations all around the country, enables an opportunity for tech businesses, which traditionally have looked to engage with their clients and prospects through traditional events on a sort of one-off basis throughout the year. Tech and Law for Good will enable tech companies to engage with all of their potential clients and prospects on an ongoing basis at a much deeper, more meaningful level, not just dealing with them on a day-to-day and looking at commercial projects, but social impact, bringing their employees, engaging on a really, really meaningful level, and doing it on a continuous basis throughout the year without having to be looking at very, very expensive series of events.
It sounds like your initiatives are working at a much deeper level than most of the networking events and conferences that we've been used to. Michael, in concluding, I wondered if I could just ask you, in working with Dan and PTI, to outline some of your priorities for 2020. Clearly, we're operating in a very different period of time with the pandemic, and I'd like to hear how you think PTI could help in these circumstances.
One of the things that happened to me recently was that I'd spent 3 years working with the BCS, that's the Chartered Institute for IT, and their Royal Charter required them to make IT good for society. And that, of course, is absolutely what PTI is all about, and particularly Tech and Law for Good. So this, for me, is a wonderful extension of my last 3 years' work, which I hope will have some good spin-off. What I'm doing at the moment is putting together some outstanding players to be on the national board for Tech and Law for Good. And these will be people that haven't just got excellent professional backgrounds, but who also have got extraordinary experience working in the charity sector or the not-for-profit sector, and particularly who have been able to recognize and help fund amazing projects which have made life better for many, many deserving people, and hopefully changing the world to make it a better place.
Thank you for that, Michael, and good to meet you both today. Dan, Michael, it'll be excellent if we could meet up again in the next 3 to 6 months, hear more about what you've achieved together, the impact you've had and the difference that PTI is making. I look forward to that, and thank you again for your time today.